When I finally returned to my ranch after months away, the sight of the wide-open fields and the familiar wooden gate brought back a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. The air smelled of fresh earth and cedar, and the wind carried the sound of the creek that ran along the property line. This ranch wasn't just a piece of land. It was history, family, and hard work all tied together. Every fence post had a story. Every acre had been walked and worked, and the house itself stood as a symbol of perseverance. As I drove up the dirt road, the crunch of gravel under my tires reminded me of every trip I had made back here, each one grounding me in the reality that this land was mine, built with my sweat and sacrifice. But there was something different in the air this time, something that didn't sit right. My neighbors' homes looked strangely quiet, but the neighborhood? Watch-like stares from certain corners told me my arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. I could already sense that someone, somewhere, had been waiting for me to show up. Ready to cause a problem that didn't need to exist, I pulled up closer to the front gate of my ranch. There she was, arms folded, standing firm like she owned the place. "Hey, Karen." She had that look, the kind of glare that cuts right through you, mixed with the smug satisfaction of someone who thought they were about to win a battle. Before I could even roll my window down, she was already on the phone, her voice carrying loudly as she told the dispatcher she had caught a trespasser trying to break into her community. She didn't even bother asking who I was or why I was there. To her, my presence was enough of a crime. She marched right up to the gate, pointing and gesturing like she was some kind of sheriff, telling me this was private property, that the HOA had rules, and that I had no right to be here. Her tone wasn't just demanding, it was dripping with arrogance, as if her word alone carried more weight than the deed to the land itself. I sat there, calm, watching her escalate, as if calling the cops was going to scare me off my own ranch. Little did she know, she had just made her biggest mistake. Minutes later, the distant wail of sirens echoed down the road, growing louder until flashing red and blue lights cut across the quiet ranch landscape. The patrol car pulled up fast gravel, spraying under its tires, and two officers stepped out with practiced authority. Karen stood a few feet away, arms still crossed, a smug smile on her face as if victory had already been sealed. She pointed toward me like she had uncovered some grand crime, her voice raised as she announced to the officers that I was trespassing on protected HOA property. The officers walked over, their eyes scanning me, their expressions careful but firm. One asked for identification, his tone professional but edged with suspicion, while the other stayed back, listening to Karen's ongoing tirade about rules, regulations, and how I had no business being there. The absurdity of it all settled in. Here I was, standing at the gate of my own ranch, being treated like an intruder because one overzealous neighbor thought she controlled the land. Karen's confidence grew with every word, certain she had the law on her side, and the officers, unaware of the truth, seemed ready to act on the story she had spun. Karen wasn't just standing there anymore, she was pacing, her finger jabbing the air as if each motion was proof that she was in the right. With every word she spoke, her arrogance grew louder than her voice. She insisted to the officers that I was nothing more than a trespasser, someone trying to sneak onto land that clearly belonged to the HOA. She rattled off rules and bylaws as if quoting scripture, emphasizing that she was on the board, and that her authority was final. Her tone dripped with condescension, as though I was some stranger who had no idea how things worked around here. She pointed at my truck, at the gate, even at me, calling me out like a criminal caught red-handed. The officers, trying to remain neutral, glanced back and forth between us, but it was clear they were giving weight to her story, especially with how confident she sounded. Karen leaned into that, flashing a self-satisfied smirk, acting as though the matter was already settled. In her mind, she had won before the conversation even started. She believed the power of the HOA badge she wore was stronger than any piece of paper I might hold in my handy. Let Karen continue her performance, her voice rising as if volume alone could make her story the truth. The officers waited for me to respond, expecting hesitation, maybe even guilt. But instead, I calmly reached into my jacket and pulled out the folder I always carried. Inside were documents, titles, deeds, contracts, and letters with signatures that stretched far beyond this small community. I held them out, not with anger, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knew he had nothing to prove. The officer closest to me took the papers, scanning them carefully, his expression shifting as each page revealed more than the last. Karen's smirk faltered when she saw the official seals, the legal wording, and the undeniable proof that the ranch belonged to me. But I didn't stop there. I explained with deliberate clarity that my authority wasn't limited to this ranch or this neighborhood. I told them that I oversaw the operations, rules, and disputes of every HOA in the country. The weight of my words hung in the air, almost unbelievable, yet backed by the very documents in the officer's hands. Karen's confident posture began to crumble as the realization crept over her face. Silence that followed was heavier than anything that had been said before. Karen, who just moments ago had been puffed up with confidence, suddenly found herself shrinking under the weight of the truth. Her arms dropped from that tight, defiant fold to hang awkwardly at her sides, and the color drained from her face as she realized the mistake she had made. The officers, now fully aware of the situation, shifted their attention away from me and toward her, their stance changing from suspicion to quiet disapproval. Karen's eyes darted between the papers, the officers, and me, searching for some way to recover the authority she thought she had, but nothing came. The smug expression that had carried her through every sentence before was gone, replaced by a mix of disbelief and embarrassment. For the first time, she was speechless. The same woman who had been shouting rules and laws as though she wrote them now had nothing to say. The air around us was still, and all she could do was stand there, frozen in place, as the reality of who I was and what I represented settled in with a finality she couldn't fight.